Alrighty, good morning everybody. It's Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Gonna get ready here and look at our S&P 500 pre-market. Give me 1 second here. Something just happened on my... Okay, perfect. So, long weekend for me. I wasn't here yesterday. And so what I want to do really quickly is just take a look at what happened yesterday, just to show you the power of everything that we're working with here. So let's jump back and take a look. First of all, I want to zoom out and just point out we have two major eye levels. We have 39.1450. We have 39.45. The market basically chopped back and forth between those two major levels all morning. So just kind of interesting to know. And then eventually, once the bulls got a little bit of strength and held above the VWAP there, they went ahead and took it a little bit higher. And where did we come up to and find resistance yesterday? Right into the two major swing lows that we've been watching for quite a while now. I don't think I can zoom out and show it on this chart, but we will zoom out in just a few moments and take a look at those swings that we've been watching. So just want to point out that we chopped back and forth in that box and then eventually got through it, pulled back, and then held the top end of the major eye level for the attempt to push higher, right? So again, we're navigating from major eye level to major eye level. At least that's the way it looks right now. I want to point out that right out of the open yesterday, if you were looking at our orange power level, if you know what that is, we came right up into it here at the open, 6:31, 1 minute after the open, a textbook push right into the orange power level and the VWAP. Right there at literally just about a 50% retrace of that little leg right there, and went ahead and got a, let's see here, 39.30 right into 39.23. So a 10-point pullback. Then the market came right back, tested the orange power level again, and then sold off right into the major eye level. And then from there bounced out again, hit it to the tick, bounced out and made a little peak below it, and that's a typical peak below and bounce type price formation, and then came right to 45, the next major eye level. Got a double top up there and failed. We even came right back to the VWAP, bounced, couldn't get through the 200, and then came down, held the orange power level to come down, and it looked like we were going to go ahead and come down and get through the major eye level, but I guess the bulls went ahead and held things there, and then eventually started pushing things higher here. And then, like I said, we pulled back right into the VWAP, pushed through, and then pulled back right into that 39.45 level and went ahead and broke out higher. At some point, it looks like, I guess, we pushed right into those two levels we're going to go look at right now, pulled back into 39.45 again, and then pushed up and could not get through those two major swings that we're going to look at, and then that was it. Market closed yesterday right in that pocket and then failed, and we've got a huge gap this morning that has yet to be filled. So looking at the overnight price action here, we have not really been able to get through 50% of yesterday. In fact, what happened was the market came down, failed right below 39.45, our major eye level, and had trouble getting through it there, and has now failed. And look where we're bouncing in the overnight session, right back into 39.1450. So as you can see, pretty messy in this part of the chart here between 39, let's say 39.10 and 39.50 there. Pretty messy part of the chart. Not an ideal place to be trading unless you are a scalper. So let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and take a look at all the levels. So we'll jump up, and I don't think it really makes sense to go to the ultra high time frames. They're all just obviously bearish, right? We're pulling back into the major retracements that I mentioned back when we were pulling back originally back from the 4000s. We've got 3770 as the 38 retrace. I think we bounced just about 30 points in front of that yesterday or the day before. And then we've got the 50% retrace down around 3451. and the 61 down around 31.33. I told you guys that this is all fair play. Pulling back, getting this correction, we could be all the way back at 31.33 and still not be out of the weeds for the bulls. So we'll continue to watch this up here. Our monthly, still really not much to add to the picture. We still have not been able to even come up and test 50% of the previous month there. And we're continuing to chug lower here. Let's see, our weekly, same thing on the weekly, not really much to mention here. Don't see anything important from a price action perspective down here. Outside of the fact that that previous weekly bar over here from the close of May 13th looked like we might actually get a potential bounce out of there. But what ended up happening was we came up and tested the highs of that previous week and then failed lower. And so coming into this new week here, you can see we're staying below 50% of the previous weekly bar. That's really the only thing I could mention here on the weekly. Again, we have the larger retracements that we're coming back into here. And one thing I want to kind of highlight here really quickly is this major swing and failure that we got just before the COVID correction back in February of 2020. So that high right there, we got all the way to 33.15 even, and then got our failure there. I do think that might be somewhat important since we haven't really tested it cleanly, right? So market failed from that level and basically kind of played around and got through it, but hasn't appreciably broken through it and then come back. So I do think that might be an interesting level there when we do get, or if we do end up getting that low. But that's really the only other thing I could mention here from this zoomed out perspective. And maybe even this major swing back from September of 2020, this major high at 35.26. But we'll worry about that stuff if we continue to get the sell-off. And now let's get into our daily chart. So the low of last week was that nice bullish divergence we mentioned. And then I guess technically yesterday, we did attempt to break out to the upside, right? So remember, we had our major eye levels in there, and we got a peek through the top end of that 39.50 level, and we ducked then right back down below. So the bullish divergence we got from last week's low, that might be it, right? Because what I'm seeing here, and let me see if I could zoom this in, maybe even pull it up into the center of the chart a little bit more here so we can exaggerate this. Looking at yesterday, the high of yesterday, and looking at RVI, just like we got a nice bullish divergence from last week's low, we now technically have a bearish divergence from yesterday's high on the daily chart. So I'll go ahead and mark it. Just remember that the current daily bar has all day to form, and this RVI could very well continue to either travel higher or maybe stay flat or pull back. If it stays flat and or pulls back, then technically I think we'll still be able to see a nice clear bearish divergence. However, if price does push this morning and the RVI continues to develop and push higher, we're going to have to reconsider. This will end up becoming a false signal, and we'll have to consider the signal we're getting off the current day. Because even if we do push higher on the daily and the RVI does push up like that, we would still have a push lower in price, but a push higher in RVI. So we'll still have a divergence. So remember, the trouble with higher time frames and anticipating divergence is you have to wait for that new bar to form, because this could change. But for now, I just want to point out, for now, we do have that potential bearish divergence. That's about it on the daily here. Don't think there's really much else to add to the picture. Just kind of zoom out. Oh, the major retracement levels. I knew there was something I was forgetting there. The major retracement level that I'm currently paying attention to is this major leg from the high at 46.31 all the way down to the low we just made of last week. And if you do that, we've got 41.22, 42.19 quarter, and 43.16.50 as the major retracements. If we get some type of major bullish breakout and we end up getting through the highs of last week, we've got that 38.50 and 61 sitting right up there. So be aware of those levels. And I think that's basically it. Let's go down. The 4 hour is just going to have our major levels. And again, you could, where's our, you can't, I don't have 14 marked on there. Interesting. But you can see the 14 and the 50 in there is where we were chopping yesterday. And we came down and peaked right into that major level at 38.13, and I forget what the other number is down there, but we came right into the next major structure zone, got a little peek through it by I think 3 or 4 points, and then came right back up to 39.14 and 39.50 here. So we've come down to test the next major structure zone below us and got a bounce out. Okay, so just want to point that out. And now let's get into our 60-minute chart and work with all the levels for this morning. So we've got, remember I mentioned the big leg all the way up here. Or wait, where were we? Let me go back here. So this major leg, just want to make sure that I have this correct here. 46.24. Okay. So let's go back to the 60-minute here. So this major high back here from 46.30-ish, whatever it was, I forget the actual number, comes all the way down to that low, and those are the major retracements. But, and I'm sorry if I confused you there. So we've got the big ass leg, right, all the way from this major apex all the way down to the low we made. We talked about those 3 retracements, and they're on our charts. There's a smaller retracement leg that's relevant for us this morning. And that retracement leg is this high we made last week up at 40.95 down to the low we made here last week as well. So that retracement leg, I just want to mention, we came up to yesterday and basically failed, I think, just about a point or two in front of. Now, this is where I want to mention the major swings. So if you remember back to the beginning of the broadcast here, I told you that we were looking at the short time frames, and we were looking at the highs that we were making at the end of the day from yesterday. See where those highs are pointing to? Right into the 2 major swing levels that we put on the chart here. So we had the 2 major swings right there, and we actually came right up into the level to the tick and got the pullback all the way back down to our major eye level at 39.45. If you remember what we talked about at the intro. So we came right into those levels and failed. Is it coincidence? I don't think so. I think that there's something to that level. We've got so many reactions from there, and even going back to previous sessions. And we also have the 61.8 basically right there. So just pointing that out because it's just something important to note. These type of things happen over and over again. So let's look at what else do we have. We have the leg up from the low of last week up to the high that we just made this morning or yesterday. So if we look at that retracement scheme right now, the 38 retracement of this whole leg up is sitting right around our major eye level at 39.14. And you can see right now that the market is currently testing that general area right there. So if it does break lower, if price does come down, and let's see if I can exaggerate this a little bit. If price comes down and gets through the overnight low and gets through the low of yesterday, we've got the 50% retracement of the leg up and the 61.8 retracement of the leg up. So the 50% is right around 38.95, and then the 61.8 is right here around 38.74. Outside of those two retracement levels, there's really not much else that sticks out to me down in this part of the chart. We do have the minor eye level at 38.90 and the minor eye level at 38.45 quarter before we come down into the next major eye level. And remember, I was just talking about this on the 4-hour. Down here, you see this major swing low from last week. It's right into our major eye level at 38.22 and then the minor one at 38.13. So it came right into it. It actually bounced last week right off our major eye level at 38.22 within a tick or two of it, or a point or two, and then came down and got our peak below the level, and then the major bounce back up, right? And there was a nice bullish divergence when they peaked through and then came back up. So those are the only other two levels I see here. And then if we continue to sell off, all these levels down here, I believe we've already covered, right? In the last 2 or 3 weeks of our morning sessions here. So I'll just quickly list them, and then we'll jump up into the intraday up in here and then up above us. So what do we have? 37.70, 250, 37.79. Pocket right there. Next pocket, 36.77 to 36.85. And if that breaks a little bit lower into 36.61. A little bit further, we've got a pocket here, 36.12, 36.22. We've got 35.85 and then down into 35.23 to 35.32. I think that's probably enough for now. That's going to be over 200, 300, 400 points lower. And then let's talk about what is above us. So if the bulls end up breaking out this morning, they can hold above previous daily low, they can hold above the orange power level, and hold above the magenta line, and they can get through the high of yesterday. We've got all of these levels up above. 97, 4004, give or take a few right in there. And then we have 4023, and then the major swing low that we still haven't tested, that we've been watching since the beginning of last week, I think. And that is about 4029.75. Any further from there, and we're right into, and it looks like it's a little bit of a pocket. What's that swing? 4039 up into the 4042 level. So I'm going to go get that onto all my charts here. And then once that breaks, maybe up into this 4065, and then 4080, and then 4108, and then we're up into that major retracement level at 4122. Any further from there, we've got the major eye level at 4142, and then we're up into that 4200 major area. And just above that 4200 major eye level, we've got the next major retracement at 4219. I think that's enough coverage. We've got over 200 points to the upside and over 400 points to the downside if it continues to fail. And then the last thing I need to mention is, again, just kind of the previous intraday price action here. Remember, it's been fairly choppy right around this area, right, for days. We're going back, I think this was Friday, I think this was Thursday, and then this was Monday. So a whole bunch of chopping now in the overnight session. We're still chopping around within that range. So just be careful over in here. All right. And I think that basically covers everything coming into this week. Have a great morning to those watching out on YouTube. We're going to get down to our member section here. So there's one final thing I need to add for the end of the broadcast here, and that is we do have Powell speaking today at 12:20 Eastern, which is 9:20 Pacific, a little bit after our actual trading morning here. But just be aware we do have that. We also have PMI Composite 15 minutes after the open at 9:45 Eastern, 6:45 Pacific, and new home sales at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. So just about 15 minutes after the open, we might see a little bit more volatility. Be aware of that. And then just about 30 minutes after the open, we'll have that new home sales. And again, might be a little funky because we have Powell speaking this morning.